Hello everybody, Carl here. This is just a quick video on the forum activity in this course. So I've posted the instructions for it. Certainly go on to Moodle and read those. I'm just going to give a quick uh, explanation of what it is I'm expecting here, what it is I'm hoping you to do. I've already seen several people using the first forum, which is excellent. So we'll just take a quick look here at our course Moodle page, which I'll pull up in just a second here. So if you go on to our Moodle page and you take a look at it, of course there's all this documentation here. If you go to the forum participation instructions under the forum instructions heading here, you can go ahead and open that up. What you're going to see is this document here. It's a few pages long. What do you really need to know about it? Well, everything, so certainly read it all, but I'm going to go through just a few of the highlights here. So basically every week in the course, so including this week, up to week 6. So week 7 in the course is really just the final week. There's just one last Monday of class, so we're not going to have a new forum discussion. Really, it's going to be that last Monday is going to be where things end. So there's really 2 due dates. By Friday at 5 p.m. Mountain Time, so no goofing around and doing something about, I don't know, an island out in the Pacifics or something. By Friday at 5 p.m., you'll have made an initial post. So there's going to be a new forum every week that I'll put up on Moodle. I'll show you where the first forum is after we take a look at this. It's back sort of down where those instructions were. I'll be putting the other forums up in different spots as we move through the different topics in the course. So you just sort of work your way down. I'll try to label them, you know, week 2 forum or something like that. In each of those forums, there will be different instructions as well about exactly what you can post about. So there'll be different people you can look at and so on. The first week's forum is a little different. I'll talk about that in a few moments. So by Friday at 5 p.m., you make your initial post, which is really a few good sentences long. And then by the following Monday at 5 p.m., you're going to have to respond to a couple of other people in the class and what it is that they've posted. So there's really 2 due dates. So by the end of Friday 5 p.m., you'll post something on what we were doing that week. By the following Monday, at the end of the day, 5 p.m., you'll engage with at least a couple of your classmates. Engage with them in an argumentative fashion, a respectful argumentative fashion. So really, what's the purpose? And there's a whole little section here. The purpose of these forums isn't just to generate paperwork and make you just say things that don't really matter. I'm not particularly interested in busy work, assigning you busy work, grading busy work. I want everything you do in this course to really have a purpose. The purpose of the forums is really to get you thinking with and engaging with the material. That should help generate some content, some ideas for, say, the critical responses in that final essay. I want you to practice the skills you're going to have to use in that written work, explaining some part of the course content, citing part of the text, you know, pointing to something specific that's going on there, formulating a thesis, engaging in reasons. So, and by engaging with other people in the course in this format, it should really help your own thinking. So it helps practice your own skills of how to respectfully yet critically engage with somebody else's view, where you could reasonably disagree, or you can even agree with them. You don't have to disagree with people in the forums. You can say, yeah, that's a great idea. Here's even more reason to think you're right. So it can be a constructive exercise. So you're going to engage in trying to express yourself clearly, engage in formulating a thesis, engaging with the course material, and engaging with your peers, engaging with other people. So I'm not going to sort of read absolutely everything in here. There's a little bit of an explanation about what it is you can do in those forums and engaging with other people, really giving them extra reasons for what they're saying makes sense. Raising a good question makes sense. Raising a good objection makes sense. Now, how much do you have to post? In some sense, not too much. Your own initial posts that are due by Friday, really a few good sentences, a short paragraph maybe. That's really all I'm looking for. Your response post, same thing, a few good sentences, maybe a short paragraph. What I really am looking for is quality, not just quantity. So you can write pages and pages of material. Really what I'm looking for is just a high caliber engagement of some sort, something that really demonstrates an understanding of the material, demonstrates that you are really thinking about this text, and demonstrates your ability to engage constructively with the text as well as your peers. The participation grade is worth 20% of your final grade. So there's 6 weeks of forums. I will take your grade from your best 5 weeks of participation in those forums. So you can use that extra week as just a freebie, just a week off. You can just say, I just don't want to do it this week. Great, that's fine. Or you can engage in all 6 weeks. And then, like I said, I'm going to grade it. There's a rubric down at the end of the instructions. If in those weeks there's any variation, if you've got a worse week, one that has the lowest grade, I'll just drop that off from the final grade calculation. Each of the 5 weeks you participate will be worth the same, so they're each worth 4% of your final grade. The forum this week, quite frankly, is a fairly easy one to do. It's there to get you used to the forum environment, just how it operates, just sort of getting you comfortable in it. So I highly recommend doing the forum this week. It's basically free grades. Don't tell anybody though. So the grading for this week and the rubric on the forum this week, and we'll go to that in a moment, a little bit different from the forum in the rest of the weeks. For the forums in weeks 2 to 6, so starting next week, so next Friday, what's that going to be? Friday the 15th. So starting on that Friday, we're going to be using the rubric here. There are some example posts in the instructions as well. So there's an excellent set of posts in example 1. This is really the kind of thing I'm looking for, and as you'll see, it's not terribly long. There's an initial post and a couple of different replies. There's also an explanation about what it is that makes this an excellent post, or really set of posts. There's sort of example 2 are suboptimal posts. These are acceptable in the sense that you're not really sort of violating the terms of the course by posting things like this, but you really shouldn't expect to receive full credit if you're making posts like this. They're really, as you'll see if you take a look at them and then read through the explanation, they're short, they lack specific details, they don't really demonstrate engagement with the text or with the other people who are posting. So these posts they're okay, but don't expect to be getting sort of full marks if that's really what you're posting. Now, down below, there are really unacceptable posts, and I've just done a couple of those. Really, those are unacceptable because ultimately they don't demonstrate respect of other people, including people who might be in the course material. So look, I don't expect you to agree with everybody we're reading. In fact, if you did agree with everybody we're reading wholly, there'd be a real problem because the people we're going to be reading disagree with each other. Just because you disagree with somebody doesn't mean that they're stupid, and it doesn't justify calling them an idiot or name calling or anything like that. So the third example of posts in the instructions are really posts that are unacceptable in the sense that I'll probably take those down out of the forum. I might contact you about them. I don't expect we're going to really actually have to deal with any of this sort of thing. I anticipate you all have a good sense of what constitutes respectful behavior, what will be acceptable in a professional setting such as this one. So I've put that there just as an indication of, in some sense, where the red lines are. And if there's something you're worried about posting and you're worried I'm going to think that it's unacceptable, feel free to contact me before you post it. Send me an email or something and say, hey, I'm thinking of posting this. Does that sort of cross a line or is that okay? Oftentimes, just the tone of the way something is said, just the way something's expressed, can really change how it comes across. So you might have a really good point and you're just worried that maybe the tone of it doesn't sound right, might seem disrespectful. So we can talk about that. That's a great thing to email me or come to my office hours or something, and we can talk about if you're ever worried about the tone of what it is you're putting up. Down at the end, there's a rubric, so I'll be grading your forum activities every week. In weeks 2 to 6 using this rubric, it's really at a 10 points. Here again, read through it, but really, what do I want to see? Well, in your initial post, you're going to spend, so there's 5 components, each are at a 2 points. We just look at the 2 points column over on the right-hand side. That's really where we should focus our attention. How do you do the best? Well, you're going to start your forum post with a few sentences that clearly identify the topic and explain a little background context for the thesis you're going to pose, right? If somebody already wasn't familiar with this material, what would you say to give them some sense of what you're talking about? And you can go look at the first example set of posts for a little demonstration of what that looks like for something that's not in the course material. I'm talking about some different piece. You're going to give a citation. You're going to reference a specific text, so it's not just, you know, author whoever. Right? It's not just, oh, Carl said. Carl said in this document on that page, something, something, something. So make some specific use of the text, explain what's going on, post a clear thesis, which identifies the topic, and then points to the reasons that would support it. So really, a thesis is a conclusion. When we're talking about arguments, a thesis is a conclusion. It's ultimately what is going to be argued for. A thesis should really state your position on some topic. So a great thesis, a nice clear thesis, is really going to make clear, you know, what your view is about some specific issue and identify, though not fully explain, what the reasons are in favor of your position. So if I'm just going to scroll back up here, if we go back to the excellent posts, right? So this would be an excellent initial post. We've got, in John Stuart Mill's book, Utilitarianism, he contends that happiness is pleasure in the absence of pain, whereas unhappiness is the presence of pain in the absence of pleasure. And that little 3 I just put in parentheses there, that just indicates it's on page 3. So in the forum post, I'm not expecting you to use, you know, proper footnotes or anything like that. You don't need to go that far, but you do need to indicate just sort of what the text is, who the author is, what's the issue at hand, and what page or paragraph we can find that information. Even, it could be a few pages, right, if it's something they're talking about for a little while, but giving some indication of where in the text somebody should go if they want to explore that topic. Now, I raise an issue here. He says, however, Mill does not appear to admit that happiness or unhappiness involve anything beyond pain and pleasure, such as satisfaction or fulfillment. Here comes the thesis. I argue that Mill is incorrect that happiness is composed solely of pleasure in the absence of pain, because somebody can experience pleasure but still be unhappy. So what do we have here? My position, right? I think Mill's incorrect about something specific, right? There's a specific view or topic or issue that gets identified. It's not just that Mill's incorrect, right? Because he said a lot of things about a lot of things. What exactly is he incorrect about? A great thesis will identify that. The because really signals a kind of transition. So the first part of a great thesis is really, you know, I argue that so-and-so is right or wrong, right, about something. The that is really what signals the topic or the particular issue at hand. The because then signals that what comes after it is really just going to be a brief list of what reason or set of reasons would be provided if you were to actually give a full argument in favor of your position. So the thesis is really just the conclusion. It's not the full argument yet. But a great thesis, a great conclusion, points to the reasons that do support it, or will support it, or could support it. So really what I'm getting you to do in the forums here is try to articulate a view that you could go on to then write 2 or 3 pages about, say, in a critical response or an essay, to really articulate those details, really make the reasoning clear, right? Really elaborate your position. Right now, it's just sort of in a nutshell. You're sort of saying, here's an idea, here's a position, here's a reason or a set of reasons that could be offered to defend it. The whole point of the engagement with each other, responding to each other, is to help really help the initial poster think about that thesis, think about what's going into it, raising good questions they might want to answer if they're going to write a few pages about it, pointing to some other reasons that they haven't mentioned that could be offered to support their position, raising potential objections to it. Hey, have you thought about this? What about this kind of issue? So it's really, the forum environment is really to get you practicing formulating a thesis, putting together reasons and having them connect to clearly specified issues in the material, and then engaging with each other in an effort to give each other more material to work with, right? So for the forum environment, you really have to come up with a few sentences at a time, but then ultimately what you're doing when you go to, say, write a critical response, you should be able to look back at your forum posts and other people's, so you're going to be able to see each other's work. So that's one thing to keep in mind. To be able to go and look at that and draw on that for your own thinking. To be able to say, yeah, I really want to write a critical response on this thesis that I had, or maybe not. Maybe I want to change what the thesis was. But I've had this trial run. I've had this exercise where I'm engaging with other people and reasoning with them and being able to draw on their suggestions to improve my own position, right? Even if it's just something you want to respond to and say, oh, somebody might say this, but I don't think that's a good idea. That's certainly something you can do in response. So the whole idea of the forums is really to get you thinking, get you practicing a certain set of skills, and giving you material that you can then work up into a written product that's going to be evaluated in a more rigorous way than the forums. So you can certainly expect to do very well in the forums. In fact, my hope is that all sorts of people are going to be getting 100%. I'm going to be giving 10s out of 10s on the forum all the time. And in fact, if you're getting less than 10 out of 10 on the forum, really strive to aim for it. Aiming for 100% of the forums is absolutely achievable. And if you find yourself falling short of that, you really are having trouble figuring out why, feel free to contact me. So your initial post is really going to be out of 6, 2 points for the context, 2 points for the citation, 2 points for the thesis, and then you have to engage with 2 other people in a respectful manner. And again, really you're trying to do something that will help further develop the argument of the original poster. That's really the whole idea of engaging with each other. And again, that can be posing a good question, an extra reason in favor of their position, a potential objection that they might want to deal with. So really, any active reasoning, right? Anything that would help develop an argument further is a perfectly acceptable sort of thing to do. All right. Now, I mentioned that the initial forum is a little bit different from the other ones, so let me just pull that up. So here we go again. We've got our introduction to the course. And if we go down to the very bottom of that, this is where the introductory forum is. And if you just go ahead and click on there, this is sort of the general setup you're going to see in forums. There's going to be some instructions there. There's going to be certain topics or questions for you to answer. This first forum is a little bit different than the others because it's really just a kind of introductory forum. Really what I'm trying to get you to do here is just, if you take a look at the questions, really introduce yourself. Give a little bit of information. I don't think any of the questions here are too personal. If you've got any concerns about them, or you've got a good reason why you really don't want to participate in this exercise, again, contact me. We can talk about it. But I don't think any of this information is really too personal. It's like what's your major? What's your area of interest or study? Do you have any previous online learning experience? What previous experience with philosophy do you have, if any? Why are you taking the course? And it's quite fine just to say, look, I just need a credit. That's why I'm here. Great. Maybe it's interest. Maybe it's a bit of both, right? I need a credit, and this seemed interesting. Wonderful. I'm not going to sort of like hunt you down if it's a bad reason for taking the course. I'm just curious. This forum helps you get to know some of your classmates and them get to know you. It's also helpful for me because if I find out, oh yeah, everybody's done some online learning and basically everybody's done some philosophy before, then I can sort of tailor what I'm doing a little bit to that audience. My guess is that most of you haven't done online learning other than perhaps finishing off the spring term. My guess also is that many of you haven't done much philosophy, maybe 1 course or maybe 2. My guess is probably about half the class will have done none. Maybe about a quarter or a third will have done a course or 2 in philosophy, and then we'll have maybe sort of, a third of the class, quarter of the class, maybe even a little less, who's done a significant amount of philosophy before. That's a guess, and this is really part of why I wanted to ask these questions in the forum. There's also an optional question, which is, how would you answer the question, what is the meaning of life? Right, just in a sentence or 2, having not taken the course, and I'm just curious, right? I think this is something interesting for you to share at this point, especially because if you put that out here now, at the end of the course, you might come back to that and really reflect on, well, what I say right at the start of the course, what did I think then? What do I think now? Or how did what I say at the start actually connect to some of the course material? Because I anticipate in the answers to that question, there's actually going to be a lot of connections to the course material. I almost bet we could connect every answer that's given to some reading in the course. So by this Friday, 5 p.m., make an initial post that answers at least the first 4 questions, and answering the optional question is great as well. So basically just, hi, I'm so-and-so. Here's what I study. No, I haven't taken an online course. No, I haven't done a philosophy course before. Yeah, I have. You know, here's a couple courses I've taken. Or, you know, if you've done a bunch, you don't have to list all of them. You just, oh yeah, I've taken, you know, 10 philosophy courses or something. You know, I'm taking the course because of whatever. So really, just a handful of sentences introducing yourself. Do that by this Friday, 5 p.m. By next Monday, so it's May 11th, respond to at least 2 other people's posts, right? Briefly introduce yourself. You know, hi, I'm so-and-so, and note one area of similarity or difference between your 2 initial posts. So just in those questions, what do you study? Do they have a different major than you? Or are you actually studying or interested in something similar? Have you both done philosophy or not done philosophy? Whatever it is, just some area of similarity or difference. It's really saying hi. And part of this initial forum is really just giving you an opportunity to explore how these forums work, because I imagine there's at least a few people in the course who haven't really used Moodle forums before. It's quite possible that most of you haven't used them. It also gives me an opportunity. I haven't used them extensively either, so this gives me a little bit of an opportunity to just explore some of the settings, see how it functions, sort of a low stakes exercise like this. And then moving forward, we're going to, like I said, starting in week 2, so starting next week, we're going to have forums that much more directly engage with course material and have you developing a thesis and reasoning with each other and so on. And I'm going to explore, so I'm not promising this, but I want to explore making groups. So instead of having sort of, you know, 40 other people that you're potentially engaging with, sort of narrowing the field a little bit. So you've got a group of maybe 5 or 10 other people to make sort of a smaller little ecosystem where you can engage with people. And then I'm still anticipating, though, letting everybody see all the work that's going on. So you can not only engage in the forum, you know, get your own participation points and really engage in a meaningful and constructive dialogue with some other people. But then you can also look around and see what other people are saying, what other sorts of reasons are floating around, and other sorts of objections that you can draw on for your own written work. Okay, so I think that's really all I have to say here. I'm not going to belabor things. I have a tendency of talking for a very long time when given the opportunity, and especially in this online environment, there's no you know, end of class timer that goes off where everybody starts shutting their books and sort of zipping things up and moving towards the door, which tells me it's time to stop talking. So I need to get a lot better at policing myself and not going on for ages and ages and ages. So I hope this makes a little bit more sense of the participation part of this course, the forum activities, what I want you to do. Also, put on your radar that there is a forum activity due this Friday, 5 p.m. It's quite simple. You should be able to do it in a few minutes. And so this really should just get you comfortable in that environment, hopefully get you connecting with at least a couple of your other classmates. I do hope that we can have at least a bit of a sense of community in this course. You know, do you have to go make a bunch of friends? No. But you're certainly going to have to work with other people. And, you know, if you want to think about this sort of in terms of, oh, well, how does this correspond to, you know, the real world outside of the university environment? Look, when you go and work somewhere, you're going to have to respectfully work with your colleagues. You're going to have to engage with other people, introduce yourself, say hi, right? You're going to have to do these things anyway. So I'm not expecting you to go sort of, you know, way above and beyond, and you don't have to make, I don't know, social groups, and I don't even know, right? Really just making some connections, being able to say hi to people, getting comfortable communicating with other people on the forum in this kind of written format. That's really what I'm trying to get you to do this week. And then next week, we're going to get into something that's a little bit more substantial. And I'll talk a little bit more about that as well. And as you're going to see, there are going to be some prompts given right in the forum instructions in terms of what sorts of thinkers you might engage with and what your thesis might look like. There are also discussion questions I'm going to be posting on each reading. And looking through those and thinking about those questions and how you might respond to them, that should help generate some good material for your initial posts as well. Your thesis, the topic you want to engage in, what you want to explain, answering that question, trying to take up a position and offering some reasons in favor of it. That's really ultimately what it is. So I'll be giving you some prompts for that. You don't have to use the discussion questions, but they're a pretty good place to start, I think. So I'll be posting questions like that go along with the video lectures and the material as we're moving through the course. Okay, I think that's it finally. So thanks very much for watching. If you've got any questions, feel free to drop by my office hours or send me an email, and I'll be posting some more video content yet this week. Until next time, bye for now.